Yeah, morning Roxtess is here. Well, so I got a whole bunch of notes last night, and I'm just gonna go run through them really quickly. But yeah, I had a lot of time last night. I just took some time this morning to put my thoughts together on this boss, and it is not looking good for Malenia. It just is not looking good.
No.
Oh, I have an interaction here. Really? We'll have to figure what that's about. But morning.
Morning.
Morning. So, Malenia has some really good benefits. I'm just going to go over her benefits, positives, negatives, and just kind of look over the boss just piece by piece. So, she has really good benefits. She has really good melee attack range. She has long attacks. She can just connect with you. It's really annoying because she can connect with you. Her kiting is really good. Her ability to just dash out of the way, run away from you, and not take any damage is really, really good. Her chaining attacks are good. It's not just her waterfowl dance, but when she does her chaining attacks, she can just keep on chaining onto you. That's really good. I would kind of similar to like the Thibodeau within Warframe, how you can get 5 hits off in a second. And the same with Ness's PK Fire. If you have ever played Smash Bros. And you've seen Ness do the PK Fire, that's 10 ticks in over 2 seconds. That fire just is residual, is just sitting there. And yeah, getting hit with chaining attacks is not very fun because you can't move. You have no options to do anything about it. You just get hit over and over and over again, and all you can do is just sit there. If you've ever watched Mewtwo King play Smash Bros. And he was up against the Ice Climbers that one season, you can just see the disappointment because all you can do is just sit there.
Yeah.
If you ever go back, watch Mewtwo King's video on this, but it is just sad to see where things just get abused. So things just get abused. It's just to the redundancy. What am I supposed to do against something that just chains over and over and over? You can't do anything. There's no professional play. There's no professional skill. There's nothing. You can't do anything against that. So especially if you watch over the Ice Climbers, you'll see where the Ice Climbers will just keep on chaining onto Mewtwo King, and he cannot do anything. You're just in a continual, you get to a high percent, you get hit, you're dead. That's it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say there. At some point, you're going to have to look at chaining attacks and just go, what point of the RNG is this where I can actually land a hit and actually kill the boss? I mean, if the boss is one hit where I can like 2-shot the boss, that would seem fine, but still with a chaining attack, how far does this go? And how annoying can this get? The leeching, I would say here, is actually pretty annoying. So leeching is completely separate from chaining attacks. Leeching can be easy to deal with. It depends if it's chaining. Well, with Malenia, she's chaining, but we're just going to talk about leeching because if you have something that's leeching, it can be annoying in and of itself, even if you don't have chaining attacks. If Malenia was far ranged and she did chaining attacks, you could still have someone that heals pretty well and or get back to full health and still be easy enough as a boss because you could walk up, be able to, 1, 2, or, 3 and be able to kill the boss and be able to be pretty easy to kill the boss. But if the boss does kite, that can be to the point where the leeching is effective because then the boss can just re-heal back and you're having to deal with all of that again. If it's ranged, not saying that it's melee,
Yeah.
but that would be an interesting idea because then you could have a boss that's completely ranged, completely anonymous, complete kite away from you, teleport around the room and be able to leech off your health bar, and you have to get up to it and be able to kill it within a certain amount of time frame so that it can stop leeching you and that you could actually kill the boss. That would be an interesting idea. But here we kind of have the simultaneous of the chaining attacks where she can just keep on chaining you and she leeches her health back, where that's really annoying because it'll completely reset the boss fight. Mm-hmm. So like I have pots here and I can use the pots, but I only have so many pots that I can use before I'm done for. And if she keeps on healing to a certain extent, it just makes it redundant that I have so many health pots and I can't get them back. And she can just keep on healing her health back. She will out survive you this way. So a good leech that I will come back to that is completely like her is Warwick. If you've seen Warwick pre-patch, his previous versus his now, they're kind of the same. You get hit and you start getting leeched upon. Next thing is the devastating 3. You got RNG within these one shots. So you have these 3 abilities that just completely, you get caught by it, you're either almost dead or you are dead. So the waterfowl dance, she just does the 3 bursts, or actually 4 bursts of just explosions of blade, which she only has 1 blade, by the way. She doesn't have 2, so this explosion doesn't look at its fullest. If you had 2 blades in her hands, that would make more sense because you have all these attacks coming out, more anime style, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's really annoying because if you get caught by even one of those and you're in the middle of it, you potentially just straight up die. It's just a chaining attack that just immediately kills you. The Scarlet Ionia is a resurrection kill in the second phase. As soon as she gets back up, she can hit you with that and it'll 2-shot you. It'll do first burst and second burst and it'll just 2-shot you. With Waterfall Dance, I find that if you have more armor, it's more survivable. You can actually survive it. But with the Scarlet Ionia, even at full armor, even at full health, this will instantaneously 2-shot you regardless of your armor, regardless of how tanky you are. It'll just 2-shot you. And it's something that you have to roll out of. And it's actually kind of easy to roll out of, but to be able to even get to the second phase and to be even able to get to the point and then have to reset, it takes too long to get to the second phase. To be able, it's the point, it takes too long. It takes too much time to be able to get to that phase, and to be able to get reset like that, where you just get killed and you have to reset, it takes too long. It's taking too long to get back to the boss to be able to kill the boss. The boss shouldn't be to the point of redundancy. It should be to the point where you can actually kill it. Lunging grab. Lunging grab is where she runs up, grabs you, throws you in there, tosses you like a baby doll, and splices you right down the midsection. So with this, she does, I just looked it up on the wiki, 2,225 damage. Your health bar at 60 health, you have 1,900 health. You need at least 17.1% damage reduction on this so that she just doesn't kill you with it. Which, I mean, you can get 20% easily enough with the Dragon Crest Talesman, but still, you would have to be at full health when she hits you with this to survive it. And your pots don't even heal half of your health bar. So with this, it's just a matter of, is she going to do this or is she not going to do this? Is the computer just going to select that ability and just spam it over and over and over again? Waterfall Dance, again with Lunging Grab, those are more in the first phase. I believe if she gets lower. If she gets lower, that's when she starts doing it, especially Waterfall Dance. As soon as she gets to the second phase, as soon as she gets below 50% health or a little bit lower, she'll immediately do this. So that is just annoying to get hit by, and you'll just take a huge amount of damage. And I didn't know this, but apparently there's a previous patch. I'm not sure if I'm correct on this or not, but previously she has had another different type of waterfowl dance. It's Malenia's dance, and it has a little bit difference to it. I'm not sure what the difference is, but apparently there is some difference there. How to beat her. How do you beat her? Okay, here's some ideas. So shields, if you do have a shield and you put up your shield and you're gonna block her, you could have a fingerprint shield or something like that. I mean, kind of, but she heals right through that shield, even if you have that shield up. And then here's another thing. If I want to attack, what am I using? I'm using my stamina. If I'm blocking, I'm using my stamina. At what point is it RNG that she's just going to keep on using waterfowl or something where your stamina is just going to go down all the way? And then are you going to actually be able to consistently hit her and be able to deal damage to her? I know you do get reduced damage off of this, but if her lifesteal is based upon per tick and it just heals a static sum, then she's just going to overheal your shield. Sorry. But if she does do a percentage heal, then the reduced damage would help because then she wouldn't heal as much. So again, just kind of ridiculous there. I know it's kind of ridiculous, but it could work. It definitely seems like it would work a little better than most things, because you would get the damage reduction. You would be able to block it with the waterfowl dance and kind of take the redundancy out of some of it, most of it. But still, it would take quite a bit to be able to whittle down her health. I don't think it would take as long as even I took. I think the shield actually might be one of those better options there. With poise, when I was doing the dragon breath, you get poise damage, so she just flounders around with fish. I have seen a few use like the brick hammer or some heavier weapons, but I don't see the damage as sufficient enough to actually break her stance, or like what I was doing with the, what was the name of the ability? Paradox's Roar, I believe.
Ruin. Placid's Ruin.
Okay, I don't see that here in my notes. But Placidus's Ruin. So even with Placidus's Ruin, Praxidus's Ruin actually makes her flop around like a fish out of water. And it just completely stops her attacks, makes her stop from doing damage. That actually makes sense to do. But when you're looking at brick hammer, other weapons, I don't think the poise is sufficient enough to actually break her stance or to stop her from actually chaining those attacks. So even with heavier weapons, I don't know how viable those actually are. Parrying is applicable, but it takes 3 parries to actually break her
stance.
Her stance. I don't know why I am not using Cardian Retaliation. Oh, there we are. So, I mean, like, this does work, but having to chain 3 in a row takes way too long to be able to break her stance and to be able to use parrying. Parrying in this game is completely useless. The only time I would actually use it is up against a Crucible Knight. At this point, this works for Crucible Knights, but for Malenia, toss the shield. It's completely useless. Get a fingerprint shield or just block the attack. Because, I mean, the amount of time you'd have to use practicing, trying to get it down where those timers all are. They're completely different timers. It's completely random. If she hits you with a waterfowl dance, you're just dead in the water. I wish that waterfowl dance actually was parryable. I'm not sure if it is. I haven't really tried too much of the time. I tried enough of the time to know that parrying was just not an option. It was not consistent. It's not something that you could be able to. If it was more obvious and it was actually usable, where you could actually skill block most of her attacks, but then again, you have to do 3 of them to do it once. And then if she hits you, she heals all that damage back again. And with the dagger, you're only doing 2,000, 3,000 damage. You'd have to do parrying 20 some, almost 30 times to be able to kill her. I don't know why they didn't make parrying a viable option. It feels like it should be. I'm just saying this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Spells, the night spells will go right through her dodge. She won't see them. You'll be able to deal damage. You could do that. That's viable. That's a good idea there. Poise damage, again, Placidus's Roar. Cold sorceries might work. The Ice Spear might work. That seems like that could be able to work. What works, though, is I'm going to give the 2 probably best ideas that actually work. Let me solo her. Why does this work? It's the don't get hit strategy. If you don't get hit, then she won't lifesteal. And if you can hit her in return and not get hit, then that's where you're dealing damage and she can't leech off of you and she goes down quicker. But again, it's don't get hit. So it's completely up to you on your skill and how you feel with her. If you can actually dodge all of her waterfowl, all of her junk. And if you can do that, it is possible, then you can take her down. So that's why with Let Me Solo Her, it actually works. It's just don't get hit. Just in the first place, don't get hit. And as long as you don't get hit, you're fine. Otherwise, if you're like me and you cannot dodge a single ability that she throws at you, you might want to pick up that shield and start blocking, because that's going to be your best route to just walk through it one time and be able to kill her. That's the most consistent thing, because if you're not, I'd have to reference Banjo and Kazooie here again, Banjo Tooie with the minecart. If you're not to the point where you want to sit there and you want to just roll and roll and roll and roll and take forever, and your hands are getting tired, and it's just the point of, oh, can I keep this up for so long? If you're not going to do that, pick up the shield, pick up something that works, like Placidus's Ruin. There it is, Placidus's Ruin, because that's actually going to stun her. That's actually going to stop her from dealing damage. That's actually going to kill her. Just gonna say, because if you're gonna keep up this rolling, you're gonna get tired very quickly on trying to dodge everything, and you're gonna get so frustrated with it very quickly, because if she chains and you cannot dodge it, you're gonna just be in a situation where you're gonna resort to either a shield, I'd have to say, number one, and number two, what I found to be the most useful was your Placidus's Ruin.
Yep.
Solgail, how many times did you have to fight her to kill her? Just from the start to the end, how many times?
I only killed her once. I did.
The very first time that you went through the boss,
Yep.
you killed her within the first try.
Yep.
I took more than 100 tries to kill her. I will do a death counter later. I'm still in the process of getting this done. But that took me over 100 tries.
And I killed her on the first go. By using this roar.
By using that roar. So, for me, like, I'm not going to dodge anything. I'm not going to waste my time trying to kill Malenia the right way. It's too redundant for me. It's too ridiculous to try to dodge everything. And then, to me as well, it's too tiring. It's too wearing to actually have to try to roll around or try to get away from any of those abilities. I'd rather just face tank. I'd rather just kill her straight up. And, you know, the best defense is the best damage. If you can take something out before it can kill you, that's the best way you're going to be able to kill it. Just kill it. Because then you're done with it. Then you don't have to deal with it. And that's where Placidus's Roar, because it completely stance breaks her. She's like a fish out of water. Yeah. Status effects, though, especially with Let Me Solo Her, he was using what was the weapon?
Rivers of Blood.
Rivers of Blood, Ugacha, Moonveil as well. All three of those really good. Same thing with daggers, really good with when you're dealing statuses. The statuses are very bursty. If you're into League of Legends, if you're getting one shot by Diana or one shot by Zoe or whatever, you get stunned, you get in that chain of attacks where they just completely one shot you. Status effects on her are very bursty because she has quite a bit of health.
Yeah.
So those are the things that work. But the thing that I'm gonna really hit Malenia with is I want to be able to walk into a boss room knowing that whatever build I use is going to be sufficient enough to beat the boss with some skill involved. Hey, you know, there's some jump rope. I can jump around these abilities, but my build, even with the dagger or whatever I'm using, is going to be able to kill her. Not the case with this boss. It's just not the case. I'm sorry, but parrying is not going to work. Most things in this game aren't going to work. You're going to have to cheese this boss. And even if that means respecking to do it, you're just going to have to respect to do it. With her, this just isn't the case. You might as well have to respect to kill her for melee, because ranged has some really good options. So you can be able to kite out of, be able to hit her with night sorceries, night spells, be able to walk away and not be in the middle of her. Because with melee, again, you're getting hit with these chain attacks, these leeching attacks. If you're going to be melee and be up there, you're going to have to dodge. Otherwise, she's just going to reheal all that damage and you're going to have to start all over again.
Yep.
With ranged, you have the option to not get hit, let me solo her, and run away, not take any damage, and be able to hit her with some spells and some sorceries where you're just kiting out of range. I think probably the night spells are going to be the most consistent because you're going to be able to just keep on spamming them and not get hit. Let's see here. My notes. Trying to make sense of my notes here. Interesting things what you should know. NPC's intelligence. This kind of goes into bosses, how things are actually made and how things actually work. If you up the speed of any NPC, they are going to be smarter, they're going to be faster, and they're actually going to operate much quicker. But especially with intelligence, it actually ups their intelligence because they'll run in, they'll actually do things quicker. Even with Warframe, even with a lot of the games that I've played over the years, I've found that when an NPC's speed is increased, where they're quicker, they're way more intelligent and they act better. They just act better, just to say. But also when you're talking about a computer's focus, if your computer is loading your mimic and the boss at the same time, same thing with Plaxidex as well. If its focus is on the mimic will go up and actually hit. And I don't know how many times I've had within Elden Ring where the mimic would just stand there and just error and just, loading a bar above its head, just completely just stand there and do nothing. If the computer actually loads the mimic and actually makes the mimic do what it's supposed to be doing, then it'll actually activate. And I don't know how many times I've had it where the mimic would just sit there and just be like, oh, I don't know what's happening or going on. And then certain times I was like, where were you, mimic, the last 30 times I died? Because the mimic, its brain would just explode and go, oh my goodness, I'm here now. And then it would go so intelligent, it would go into God mode and be like, I'm killing Malenia on my own. I don't care about the player. I'm just going to kill Malenia. And I'm like, where were you the last 30 rounds? Why did you just get intelligent now? What happened? And it's just not consistent. It's just to the point the computer either focuses on the mimic and it makes the mimic more intelligent, or it focuses on the boss and then the boss gets more intelligent, and I don't know what happens, but like the mimic will just stand there and Malenia will get activated. And when Malenia gets activated, she is God mode. It's literally the most impossible thing to beat because she will start dodging everything and she'll start doing waterfowl. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? And all you can do is just stand there and go, oh, okay, I'm dead. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's just the computer focuses either one or the other, and you can tell it's blatantly obvious. You can tell it's like, okay, it's on the mimic right now, and the mimic is just like God mode. And, Malenia is just like laggy and, her internet connection's not very good. And then other rounds, it's just like, it's completely the opposite. The mimic is just completely unusable, completely redundant. And then Malenia just starts bursting off and going God mode. And it's just, yeah, there is that situation. If you fought her for long enough and you've gone through, like me, you probably wouldn't know this so good. But for me, I went through the experience of doing 100 rounds, and you can tell when the computer's actually focusing on the mimic versus the boss. And that's actually a really interesting thing to know. I know that's kind of like, that's very theoretical, it's very out there, but as the player, I do know, and I do notice those things. And there are a few other games I would have to probably play through all these other games again to be able to know which games are, but especially even for Warframe, you're able to know when the computer can load things or not, and when things actually function as they're supposed to, or if they completely break down and they don't even work. And even for Warframe, I notice this a lot because the NPCs will run into walls, or things will break, and it's just the point of the game where the engine actually can run what it can run, or if it doesn't, and if it completely breaks. And that's just up to the system. Sometimes it's just the system. Sometimes it just is what it is. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually had like Grenier or Corpus like glitch in and out of existence.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yep. Yep. Just depends on the game, what things are going to break, what things aren't going to break. But yeah, further down the line too, it's just when you're in a boss like this, the game is meant to be played and meant to be enjoyed and meant to, just be enjoyed. And when you have a boss like this, where it's this hard to beat, and you have a system like this, it really kind of pulls back to why is the boss this difficult and or this hard, and it really shouldn't be. A game should be playable from any point of view. It just should be playable, and this I don't think cuts it. So this is a complete negative on Malenia. But my thoughts, if I was to rework this, if I was to actually make this playable, waterfowl dance should be only chained once. It shouldn't be chained 4 times in a row. It should only be chained once. Scarlet Anio, the damage should be nerfed. Scarlet, I don't know how you would say that. Aeonia. I'll say it's Aeonia. So Scarlet Aeonia, damage should be nerfed, either halved or something, because even with full armor, you get hit with that, you die. Lunging grab, the damage should be nerfed again. It should be at least half damaged or something like that. I wish there was more of a focus on the player, on the skill, whether it's dodging and you're using jump ropes or something like that, where, hey, I'm jumping over the attack and it's very easy to jump over the attack, and it's just based upon your timing. I'd have to put the same thing with Mario Party. When you're doing the jump rope, any of the jump rope, it's just, hey, I'm jumping right now. I'm jumping over the jump rope. And there's certain times where you jump over the jump rope. Mm-hmm. It should be a time thing where it's like, hey, there's a certain amount of skill to dodging of this attack. And I actually kind of come back to Plaxidus, where he does that sky move, and he goes across the sky with the electrical, and he comes at you. And that's very easy to dodge. It's a timed event, and it's like a jump rope. You can just jump right over it. Same thing with the Crucible Knights. I don't know how many players I've seen, but they jump right over the Crucible Knight's ground stab there. And it's like, that's cool that you can actually, that function actually works, and that you can jump over it like a jump rope. It should be to the point of some skill. And I wish parrying worked for this boss. It doesn't, unfortunately. But I wish parrying actually worked. That would actually have more skill in it. I wish there was more viability with shields. Shields kind of get the worst end of it, because, you have to just stand there, block, and then she can heal. But again, as the wiki says, she heals herself for a percentage of all the damage she inflicts. So I'm guessing that's a lifesteal. So if you do have your shield up, she will heal less of that. And you could have the advantage with that. But again, I just wish that this boss fight was more skill oriented than anything else. So to wrap it up, I've got a new name for Malenia, and I hope it definitely sticks, because her new name is Malenia, Blade of Elden Ring, Goddess of RNG. A game should be playable. A game should have some viability. And you should be able to have player skill. I think skill should be used more of the time than anything else. And you can dodge the waterfowl dance. It's just very, very hard to do so. But I wish it was a lot easier for players who don't want to have to go through all the trouble. There should be a button right outside the boss room. Super easy mode, child easy mode, child safety mode, and then, those who want to die version, right outside the boss room. Just have a switch, Do you want a child mode where you can just easily walk through this boss, or do you want prepare to die version, Just which version do you want of Malenia, Child version, she just stands there. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this other than that. Alrighty. Well, is that all the time we have for this episode?
Unfortunately, yes.
And we will see you guys in the very next video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.